Your company can increase profitability this quarter and make itself dramatically weaker next year. And one of the easiest ways to do it is layoffs. Now, before anyone jumps on me, I'm not saying layoffs are never necessary. Sometimes they are. What concerns me is that something that should be an exception has become a routine response to cyclical downturns. And when that happens, we're not just reducing payroll, we're liquidating human capital. It's a very different thing. When an experienced employee leaves, the company doesn't just lose the salary. You lose someone who knows what happens when the machine behaves differently than it should, who knows how to solve the problem nobody has documented. And when the market comes back, leadership often discovers something inconvenient. Can't simply hire that capability back. The people, knowledge, and trust are gone. And now you're trying to rebuild something you spent years developing. That's expensive. But much of that expense never appears neatly on the income statement that was used to justify the layoff in the first place. Here's where I think American manufacturing needs to start thinking differently. Imagine leadership is under pressure to improve profitability. They scrape together a way to reduce costs by 10%. The quarter looks better, which makes the board and shareholders happy for now. But what if that decision reduced the company's ability to produce another 50% or 100% of what it could have produced over the next several years? And its ability to adjust or pivot capacity based on the market demands. What did we actually optimize? And that's the problem with excessively short-term thinking. You can make the company look better today while making the company less capable tomorrow. Look at what happened with domestic defense contractors at the beginning of this year. They were scolded publicly for not being able to pivot and ramp up production quickly or effectively enough. Short-term financial optimization has systematically destroyed the very manufacturing capability America needs when conditions change. And this is where the problem becomes even bigger, because the cost of short-term thinking isn't just what happens during the layoff. It's what happens to the people who remain. Imagine you're an employee in a manufacturing facility. You've watched coworkers get laid off, watched experienced people walk out the door. You've seen the company cut costs when the market gets soft, and then leadership comes to you and says, help us improve. Help us eliminate waste. Help us become more productive. But you've learned something from watching what happened before. You know what productivity can mean: fewer people. So why would you enthusiastically participate in something that very well may eventually eliminate your position? If improving the process makes your own position less secure, you've created a conflict between the company's stated objective and the employee's rational self-interest. And that destroys trust. This is one of the great contradictions I've seen in American manufacturing. And we've unintentionally taught people, don't make yourselves too efficient. Don't eliminate too much waste. Don't make yourself replaceable. Don't give away everything you know. And suddenly, the organization has created exactly the behavior it says it doesn't want. That's not a workforce problem. That's a leadership alignment problem. And it takes all the wind out of the sails of these tools. No wonder most American manufacturing companies are not seeing the true, most powerful benefits of lean and continuous improvement. But what if we changed the equation? Imagine a different system where leadership says, we're improving this process because we want more capacity. We want to produce more, take on more customers, reduce lead times, bring work back to the United States. We want to grow revenue, make these jobs better. We want people to build careers here, Now, continuous improvement means something completely different. Productivity creates capacity. Capacity creates opportunity, and opportunity creates choices. That's the shift from scarcity to abundance. Manufacturing capacity is more than a number. And I think we've made a mistake in the way we talk about it, because capacity is also strategic flexibility. If you have no available capacity, what happens when a major customer calls or the market suddenly changes? What happens when a competitor can't deliver or an opportunity appears to bring work back from overseas? You may want to say yes, but you can't, because you've optimized your factory so tightly that there's nowhere to move. That's not resilience. That's fragility disguised as efficiency. There's a massive opportunity cost of losing the ability to pivot. And this is exactly why the defense industry-based example matters. Capacity that has been deliberately removed cannot be summoned instantly when circumstances change. That's the consequence of the short game. So what would a long-term manufacturing strategy actually look like? It would still care about profitability, but instead of the driving force being, how do we reduce costs this quarter, the motivation would be, how do we become more capable, more productive, and more profitable over the next 5, 10, or 20 years? And immediately, I can hear in my mind the executive loudly claiming, but we already have a 5 and 10-year plan. Where? On paper? Does the person on the production floor believe that plan is real? Do they trust you to achieve it? Maybe they do, but open your mind to the possibility that it could become twice as strong and twice as likely to become reality with your shift to radical alignment of leadership through every level of your company. Please. Just hear me out, because you can't build a long-term manufacturing strategy if every level of your organization is optimizing for different horizons. The board is thinking about shareholder value. The CEO is thinking about growth and profitability. The CFO is looking at this quarter. The plant manager is trying to hit this month's numbers. The supervisor is trying to get today's orders out the door. And the person on the production floor is wondering whether they'll still have a job in 6 months from now. Tell me I'm wrong. Every one of those concerns are legitimate, but if they aren't aligned, they can pull the organization in completely different directions. And that's where leadership has a responsibility, not just to communicate the strategy, but to create an environment where the strategy makes sense at every level. I want to see that fear born from decades of broken trust shift to opportunity, both for the individual and the company as a whole. That's the choice in front of American manufacturing right now. We could continue optimizing for the immediate number, or we can start building organizations that become more capable every single year. We can continue treating employees as a variable cost to be adjusted with the cycle, or we can start recognizing them as a human capital that gives the company capability and stability. We can continue treating continuous improvement as a collection of tools, or we can create the leadership environment where continuous improvement becomes part of how the company grows, not just by a little here and there, but by huge, stepwise improvements that are ripe for the taking. And I don't think this is about choosing people over profits. It's about understanding that over the long term, people and profits are not competing objectives. A capable workforce creates capability. Capability creates capacity. Capacity creates choices, and choices create resilience and growth. That's the future I believe American manufacturing can build. not an organization that is constantly trying to survive the next downturn, but one that is continuously becoming stronger, more capable, and more valuable. Because the goal isn't simply to make the next quarter look good. The goal is to build a company that is stronger 10 years from now than it is today, no matter what the economy looks like. And I believe we can do that. But we have to stop confusing short-term optimization with long-term leadership. If you believe America can lead the world in manufacturing again, join me, join the movement.